For more, let's bring in NBC News Washington correspondent Yamiche Alcindor and Dr. Mamie McLean, a physician at Alabama Fertility. Yamiche, this is extraordinary. What can you tell us?
I mean, there are thousands and thousands of patients that are now wondering whether or not they will be able to create families, because this is as you said, the largest hospital system in Alabama. So you're talking about people who are trying to grow their families, who want to grow their families, and who now are being told by the state that that's personally not going to be possible for them. The ramifications here could be widespread, because you have other states like Florida who are considering similar legislation and similar moves. You also have 11 states who already have on the books personhood laws deeming fetuses to be people. So this is something that could go on and on and on. And I think there are just so many ways that we look at this and think, and a lot of people are looking at this and thinking that this could have sort of unintended consequences, because Stephanie, let's remember that the couples at the heart of this were suing because their embryos were destroyed and they were angry and wanted to file a wrongful death lawsuit. And now those couples, at least based on what's going on, and the Alabama Medical Association saying that they expect other clinics and other providers of IVF to follow suit here, that couple could not possibly pursue the IVF that they felt so dearly about, that they were suing for wrongful death. And we also, of course, are seeing the political implications here. The vice president was just tweeting out, and I want to read part of her tweet. She said the decision is outrageous, and it is already robbing women of freedom to decide when and how to build their families. So you're hearing from Democrats who are saying, hey, this is part of why they as Democrats were warning about not overthrowing Roe v. Wade. And now you're, of course, having to have Republicans making the hard decision to say, are you going to back this or not? We see Nikki Haley saying that she believes embryos are children, but it's going to be very interesting to hear from others, especially because a number of evangelical Christians, organizations, as well as personal people, they are in support of IVF. They want people to be able to have more children. But now here is a complication that maybe some did not think was going to come, because a number of states, including in Tennessee, right after Roe v. Wade, the attorney general there was saying this is not going to be what happens to people. We're not going to be a country that stops IVF as a result of what happened with Roe v. Wade. But we're obviously seeing the difference here.
Dr. McLean, how is this impacting your clinic? I mean, what have your patients been saying over the last 24 hours?
Our patients are incredibly worried. They're confused, and they feel like they've been left alone by the state of Alabama. We have patients who plan for months in the lead up to both IVF and a frozen embryo transfer. So these treatments they've been ongoing for quite a while. And so the decision to cancel a patient's treatment is devastating news for them.
So what are you telling your patients tonight, right? What's the game plan for your clinic moving forward?
Our clinic has been in discussions since this ruling came out. We were made aware of it Sunday morning. And since then, we've been in discussions with our legal team, with physicians across the state, with the ASRM, with Resolve, the advocacy group, with our embryologist. And we're concerned that the ask of both physicians and embryologists to continue to offer IVF treatments in Alabama is untenable. So we're incredibly worried that IVF as it stands will not continue in Alabama.
Here's what I don't understand. It is standard practice in IVF to fertilize multiple eggs and transfer only one. So what happens to women who have already begun that process?
So I think that's a clinic by clinic decision. In our clinic, we have decided to continue with the standard of care for patients who are in the middle of treatment. We feel like we can't pull the rug out from under them in the middle of treatment, but we are concerned moving forward that we will be unable to fertilize eggs in an IVF lab.
Yamiche, how is the White House and the Biden campaign reacting to this?
I read the statement from the VP. They are denouncing this. They are saying that this is outrageous, that this is really part of the consequences, what they would say are the bad consequences of what happened when the Supreme Court decided to overturn Roe v. Wade. They're also, Democrats, as well as the White House in particular, they're leaning into the politics of this. I was just in Wisconsin a couple of weeks ago with the vice president who launched this national tour pushing for abortion access. And she was doing so in particular by talking about personal stories, including a number of women who wanted to have children and had complications, and found themselves on the wrong end of a number of legal challenges that allowed them not to get what the vice president would say life-giving care and care that they needed at the time. So the Democrats and the White House are both denouncing what's happening in Alabama, but also saying, look, you need to be thinking about this to voters. You need to be thinking about this in November when you think about who you want to put into office, because we can also, of course, I think as a nation, see that there is going to be possibly even more consequences to this. And as Republicans have in different states all over this country, they've been pushing for more and more restrictions on abortion. So you can imagine that Alabama might not be, and likely will not be, the last state to deal with it. So the White House is definitely looking at this as a political issue, while Republicans are, I think, really trying to figure out how to talk about this issue. Because again, IVF is one of these things that so many couples, thousands of couples, including Republican couples, prominent Republican officials, have talked about IVF giving them the chance to have these families that they wanted so badly. So this is really in a clash in some ways, a political clash waiting to happen.